Hey, this is Mo Lunsford at Union Grove Lumber Studios.
And this is the Shed Geek. We want to welcome you to today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Street, and today we're sitting with a very interesting individual, heavy-handed in the shed industry. His name is Shannon Latham. Shannon, do you want to give a quick introduction to the audience?
I like the intro. Heavy. Did you say heavy-handed?
Yeah.
Heavy-handed.
It just rolled off the tongue.
Yeah.
That's just how it came.
You go with whatever works.
That's right.
So you're playing the role of host today.
That's right. Shed Geek
nice.
Dylan.
I love the outfit.
It's very impromptu.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
How weird do you feel without a belt and suspenders, though?
How weird is it that you carry multiple options of these around in your bag? How weird is that?
I'm going to say very, very strange. One of a kind.
Yeah.
I'm
One of a
unique,
kind.
I guess you'd say.
That's right.
Yeah. It looks good on you. I like
Thanks,
the
man.
orange.
You know?
The orange and the black work good.
I like it.
Maybe-
Kind of feel like I'm representing Vienna High School.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Vienna basketball team, the Eagles. Shout out to them.
So how will like Sierra react if you just like come home and you got the bow tie and suspenders? Is she gonna be like, yeah, go with it full time?
She would probably just like glance as I come in the door and just like, and then go back to doing what she's doing. You know,
What's he up to now?
yeah,
What's going on?
You really never know.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, it's probably
Well, thank you for having me on the show today.
Yeah, you're very
It
welcome.
means a lot
Yeah.
for me to be here.
Anytime. Maybe we'll get you on another time real soon. You know, we'd love to have you again. Love to have you again.
So what are we doing today?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. So, you know, I've been hearing your name a lot in the industry. It just seems like everywhere I go, your name's just always popping up. So I just wanted to bring you on and just like see what do you got going on? What's new? Anything groundbreaking that's coming up that we what was I had a name for us, Shed consumers. Do you have anything for us? Can you give us something? What you got going on?
You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever seen the YouTube video of Chris Rock, or not Chris Rock?
Getting slapped by Will Smith?
No,
Oh,
not that one.
okay.
I said Chris. So The Rock and then Kevin Hart.
In the ice bath?
When they make fun of each other.
Oh, no.
That's what I feel like. You have to watch that on YouTube whenever they're making fun of each other.
Yeah.
That's the energy I feel with this. So, yeah, what's going on? What's new? Man, so, well, we kind of talked about it on the Shed Geek Marketing
Yeah.
episode that me and you did, and it's really just like trying to create your narrative. Like, and I really have chewed on that from thought just over and over and over, that comment, creating your own narrative, not letting the industry create it for you. And I think part of that's been like, you know, what do you do in the industry? You know, whenever I met the industry, I was working in RTO. And I say when I met the industry, I technically started in purchasing.
Yeah.
And then sold for a while and just, you know, all the stuff, right? But then figuring out these different knacks, like, and really having like this desire to just see the industry move forward, but also be part of the industry. So you gotta understand, Dylan, like for me, like the Shed Geek podcast is sort of a media spot.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what some people have called it. And I'm like, I don't know, if I go back to the origins of like where it started, why it started, how it started, and I can go through that story if I haven't told it already. But, you know, for me, it's like, what does it look like long term? My passion is to do this podcast.
Sure.
I love doing this podcast, and I love being able to connect with people. That genuinely makes like my heart happy. Mm-hmm. But then it's like trying to figure out how to scale it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So like I got thrust into doing this, you know, originally without any intentions to monetize it, or just didn't have the vision to monetize it.
Sure.
Didn't know what it was going to turn into, just wanted to do something cool and felt like it was needed. And then all of a sudden it became a necessity, right?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't know that story. They might not even know my story in general,
Sure.
you know, which my testimony I'd love to speak on sometime. But that came to be where the podcast sort of became a necessity. So began selling advertising, and that's just kind of an odd space. You know, I don't do what like Marty does or Gary does. I mean, what those guys do, they do best. You know, I don't have a desire to be in like the magazine business or whatever. So what those guys do, they do best, but they sort of have an endless supply of like advertisers they can take on. You add new pages. We're kind of limited in that without doing like 5 podcasts a day or a week. And I don't know that we're going to talk sheds 5 days a week. Maybe we can, but then you have to ask yourself beyond that, even you've listened to the podcast. It's sheds.
Yeah, it's sheds.
But then we talk about faith.
Yeah.
We talk about everything about sheds.
Yeah.
So like it's been kind of weird for people to come to me and be like, man, it's kind of like your style. I got an offer to do another podcast.
Yeah.
Where somebody's like, hey, we want to pay you to be the face or whatever of this. And I'm going over it in my head like, gosh, does that make sense? Should I do that?
Yeah.
There's just been cool opportunities. From day one. I mean, opportunities to work for companies, work for other media companies, rent-own companies.
Yeah.
So like have you ever had a customer ask you about how to supply power to their shed? Do you sell electrical kits as an upsell for your sheds currently? Do you want an easy, no-hassle option to offer for your customers when they want to add electric to their sheds? Check out EcoEthics Solar. EcoEthics Solar is looking for shed manufacturers and shed dealers who want to be able to provide a solar electric option to their line of sheds. With EcoEthics Solar, you can purchase the SunSaver, a solar product specifically designed with the shed owner in mind. Want to offer a larger product that can operate a full tiny home? At EcoEthics Solar, they have the necessary product, training, and capacity to meet your customers' needs. Installation for the SunSaver is simple and takes just 45 minutes. You can even install it right there in your sales lot or at the manufacturing facility. EcoEthics Solar even provides hands-on in-person training if necessary. Plus, they will provide you with video tutorials and handouts with specific installation instructions that keeps adding a solar-powered electrical system to your shed fast and simple. In many cases, the end user can even perform the installation once the shed is delivered to their home. If you are interested in purchasing a unit for display and then drop shipping your orders or even ordering multiple units to have available as you build, contact my friends at EcoEthics Solar at 336-250-1284 or email sales@ecoethicsolar.com.
You know what's interesting is that until you do something for yourself, nobody ever sees your value.
Yeah, that's a good word, man. That's a good word. Like I've been scared my whole life to like jump out and do things on my own because, you want certainty. You want, like in business, that's what everybody wants is a proven process. But it's so funny because it's counterintuitive to like my nature. Every one of my personality tests come back as a trailblazer or whatever. They come back as like, and you think, well, is that real? Well, I mean, I started a podcast where there was no podcast because I was like, it doesn't matter to me if it works or not. I enjoy this, so I'm going to do it. And then it turned into this cool thing. But it's turned into other cool opportunities, whether it be jobs and all that. What's funny, and I don't want to get into my personal testimony, but maybe we can, is that's the one thing that evaded me for most all of my life.
Yeah.
Like I've got a family. I've been with my high school sweetheart. I was just showing you pictures of me and Deanna in 1996.
And your mullet.
And my mullet.
Yeah.
She's going to post a picture of my mullet now for everybody to see. I already know what she's going to do, and she's editing.
It was all the grease you put in your hair. I saw it. The grease, and now you can't even grow.
Business in the front, party in the back,
That's
man.
right.
Hey, those were cool at one point,
They're back.
Yeah,
I don't know if you know that, but they're back. They're a little more like bushy in the front, and they're different. I don't know.
I don't know if I can do a mullet now. Maybe a skullet. Ain't that what they call them?
I don't know.
Yeah. Or you just pretty much no hair on top and hair in the back.
I'm starting to get some receding peninsulas up here a little bit. But
well, your eyes going bad.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. My eyes just get worse. And once I hit 30, things started falling apart. But it's been kind of it's just been an interesting journey. That's the one thing I couldn't find fulfillment in. Family was good. Especially whenever I found, a God, and like not God that I was even taught as a young boy, because I felt like it was taught different than what I experienced, and how a relationship with God and my Savior, Jesus Christ, became an imperative thing in my life. Right. So like those things felt good. Like my spiritual, things felt good. And really, I didn't even find that until I found myself at the absolute end of my rope.
Yeah.
Going to work, I'd left the casino, took another job.
Sure.
Man, I was miserable. And I was actually driving down Interstate 57 one day going to work. And, this is sensitive stuff, and I don't really talk about this super often, but it seems like I'm given the avenue here to just move forward. I don't feel any reason not to talk about it. But, that was really a low point in my life where I just could not be happy with career. I felt like with a dad growing up where he talked about how you got to work hard and all that stuff and how you're going to have to work hard your whole life. And a lot of people identified themselves as a man around your career.
Sure.
With women, a lot of times it was like family and stuff like that. But it was like, why can't I find contentment in my career? Why can't I be happy in my career? And just find fulfillment or whatever. Yeah. So I found myself, struggling financially, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah.
All the stuff. And was at a really bad place in my life that I don't talk about too often, where I was contemplating, like ending my life, because I was like, man, I don't see any value in me or moving forward. And I just felt like I had wrecked everything. Here I had a home, I had a family, had all these things, but I wasn't happy.
Yeah, I guess you're purpose heavy.
Yeah.
So couldn't find your purpose.
Couldn't find it at all. Didn't know. It didn't have a clue about what it would be or what to do and things like that. And believe it or not, I actually called a buddy of mine, Chris.
Yeah.
Didn't answer his phone.
Doggone it, Chris.
Dang it, Chris. So
freaking Chris, man.
And then I thought about.
I take my Vienna shout out back, Chris.
But yeah, I don't know. I was looking for people to call and reach out to and just talk to. And I actually called my mom.
Yeah.
This is funny. This is like one of the most powerful things I can remember. And I can finally, all these years later, say it now without crying. But I remember telling my mom, just breaking down to her, just like, boom, laying it out there on the table and being like, I feel worthless.
Yeah.
I feel worthless as an individual.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even deserve my place here. You know what I mean? On earth, I've got, and that's because I was just, so focused on purpose. And to me, purpose and career and all that stuff kind of run together again as a man. And hello, shed seller. Do you feel like some days you are on an island trying to navigate through the complexity of perfecting your shed sales process? For years, the shed seller has often had the do the best you can standard. At Shed U, we want to help you make doing the best you can more than guesswork with a proven shed sales process. Shed U was created for you, the shed seller, and aims to help you, the shed seller, learn the best techniques for selling sheds. How do we do that? Elements of Shed University include Sheducation you deserve as a shed seller, such as sales process management, lead follow-up, and sales script development. But wait, there's more. Attending Shed U is double the fun, because after you attend Shed U on January 23rd and 24th of 2024 at the Knoxville Convention Center, you can attend the Garage Shed Carport Builder Show on January 24th and 25th. That's right. All registrants for Shed U receive complimentary admission to the GSCB show, which includes even more educational opportunities. If you have been wanting to improve your shed sales process for yourself or your sales team, be sure to attend Shed University, the obvious choice to grow your shed sales. At Shed University, class is now in session. I tried going back to college. I got almost finished my associates in business, and then here I eked through high school.
Yeah,
and then I craved knowledge when I went back to college.
Yeah,
right, and I had a 4.0 GPA. I was super excited. Things are good. We ran out of money. I didn't get to finish my associate's degree, and I was like, oh man, I had all these dreams to be in business. What does that mean? Yeah. Everybody asks you what are you going for? Business? What do you want to do? I don't know. Run somebody's business, I guess.
Yeah.
You want to run your own? I don't know. I can't afford to do that. How would I do that? So there was all these questions, and I called my mom and I told her, I said, I feel worthless, and this is kind of tough for me to say, but I just never will forget the words of my mother saying, "You're not worthless. You are my son."
Yeah.
And just broke me down.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say something like, "Suck it up, boy." I didn't know.
I'm not saying she wouldn't say that.
Yeah. You going to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. That's a dad phrase.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm not trying to make a light.
No, you're good. You're good. If you can't laugh at life, man, gosh, what are we doing? But anyway, I remember my mom saying that. She said, "You're not worthless. You're my son." And it meant so much to me. She said it in that moment. that I just remember being like, I cried all the way to work. I remember, I'll laugh at myself too. I remember going to a bathroom at a gas station in Marion, and I was literally having like a mental breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm walking in and I'm staring in the mirror, and I just started bawling.
Yeah.
And I'm in this busy gas station looking in the mirror at myself.
At Pilot while guys are brushing their teeth. Like, what is this guy doing?
I started bawling, and this one guy walked in and just looked at me and walked out.
I ain't got time for this today.
This guy was like, oh no.
It's probably a pastor. Just left the hospital in Marion.
He's like, I don't want to deal with this guy today. It's too much, God. It's too much on my plate. So I remember I went in and I quit my job. I remember I quit my job and I went home and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I talked to my wife and I said, I just feel like I'm at the end of my rope. I just don't know what I'm going to do. And of course she supported me. And the next day I woke up and I called a friend of mine. He's actually, I think I've mentioned him on the show before, Jonathan. He used to be a logistics manager for Graceland, but he was a bit of a lot like me growing up. He wasn't a pastor, and this dude had changed his life and was living it. And he's still to this day, I'd challenge anybody. He's like the most biblical sound guy I know. Sure. I mean, I envy the way he loves the word and gets into it and studies it. But anyway, he said, hey man, come over here as this company and maybe I can get you a job, and, did his best and got me into purchasing, and the rest is kind of history. I left there and went and did faith-based drug and alcohol rehab, but then ended up selling sheds. And then the rest of the story kind of goes as is, but it kind of set me in this industry. So it was like, God hearing my purpose back then. But, I always thought, maybe talking to people, maybe being a speaker. Sure. It's always funny to be like a motivational speaker. I don't think I'm very motivational. I think I'm more practical. Sure. But even recently I woke up and told somebody, I think it was Gary Bontrager, I said, man, I've been wanting to be a speaker and getting paid to speak for much of my life. And then I woke up one day and realized I've been doing that on a podcast for 2 years. Yeah, essentially. God just doesn't always do things in the way that you think they ought to be done. Yeah. And
I always remember this. It was T.D. Jakes. He's a pastor out of Dallas, and he was sitting with his son. It was Christmas Eve, and his son came home. He had been in college for like 7 years. So he was going on his 8th year, and they were sitting by the fireplace talking, and the son looks at him and he's like, man, I just don't know if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And he was going to be, I believe it was a musical engineer or something like that. And he said to T.D. Jakes' dad, he said, I just don't know if this is the thing for me. And then T.D. Jakes said, which, everything he says is just like, so good. But he says, son, if it is not the thing, it'll be the thing that leads to the thing. And I've always liked that.
How simple.
How simple.
How simple is
Makes
that?
so much sense.
Hey, Deanna, I need to write a new ad for Shed Hub. Give me some ideas.
Why don't you do something catchy like the insurance commercials do all the time, where they just repeat the same thing over and over?
Like a little jingle or something like that.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be embarrassing?
That is kind of the point.
What type of music?
Try rap.
Shed Hub helps you sell shit.
Maybe country.
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Rock and roll?
Shed Hub helps you sell sheds.
Maybe just go back to your normal writing style.
Shed Geek and Shed Hub are now collaborating to make for a better customer experience. I want to save you some money. Shed Hub is focused on signing up the next 500 customers. We're calling it the Next 500 Plan.
Real creative.
You think it'll help if I sing again?
I'd rather you not.
Well, that makes two of us.
So what's the Next 500 Plan?
The Next 500 Plan is simple. This will include 100 listings per month, per location, along with the Brand Builder website. And the plan will last for 1 full year.
But how do they save money?
It only costs $39 a month. There's never been a better time to sign up. Just go to geek.shedhub.com, click subscribe, enter your name, email, and payment information, and you will be contacted by a Shed Hub employee to get you onboarded for just $39 per month. Shed Hub helps you sell shit. I remember going to that teen challenge in Cape, and I think it's Pastor Bolin that does that over there. And I remember getting there, and like that was one of the first ones. It was open in like 1969, and I think Teen Challenge was started in 59.
Sure.
So I mean, like this family in Cape gave like 400 acres to this, whatever organization. And I remember getting there and he was like, man, there's all these people here, like 300-400 guys here.
Yeah.
They got to feed them. They got all this big enterprise, you know, and it's all run off donations and things like that. And I remember he was like, I got here and we were about to shut the doors.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no way. I was like, well, what did you do to like change it?
Yeah.
And I was ready and waiting and anticipating like this huge like God moment where he was going to be like, oh, well.
The St. Louis Rams dropped off $400 million.
Like it always happens like that. I know
this story. Go ahead.
It always happens like that. You know, like this big miracle happened that if it wasn't, you know, and I was like, well, how did you change it? And he held his hands out and he said, well, when I got here, and for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll appreciate this. But he said, when I got here, our debt was right here and our money was like right here.
Income. Yeah.
The income was right here. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I switched those. And I was like, come on, man. There's got to be something more than that. Tell me about the big experience. And he was like, no, we started bringing in more money than we were putting out. And I was like, you know, sometimes it's the basics.
Yeah.
You can't spend more than you make. Yeah. Business ain't going to work.
Dude, and they kill it. They landscaping, car detailing, thrift shops. Them guys out there working. And there's so much potential, man. Most of those guys that come in there are grown and have know a trade of some sort. Like, you know.
Well, a lot of them are carpenters.
Absolutely.
Like how you know, I've always thought in my mind, how can you capitalize on that at some point in the shed industry? Because everybody's looking for work. And, you know, it's not just a opportunity to capitalize on them, but to pour into them, because those guys need leadership. You know what I'm saying? So they need to be around godly people. So like you just kind of have to check your own self and be like, am I hiring somebody for more than one purpose or whatever? But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of led me to purpose and all that stuff, and then getting in and starting doing what I'm doing. So, you know, ultimately, it was
what are you doing?
Man, we're going to launch a rent-owned company.
Okay.
So like when it's all said and done, I've had to like think about that in great detail, and it's probably a little, maybe even premature from what I was going to do. I was going to wait, you know, maybe 6 months to a year. Man, I just really felt like it was the right time. You know, the opportunities were there. There's been tons of opportunities. Don't get me wrong. And I appreciate those. And the reason I'm telling you this story is so that you guys can tie that back into my moment on the interstate where I felt like I had no opportunity.
Sure.
How weird that I have an abundance of opportunity now. So now it comes down to selecting the right things and just trying to hear God and like trying to do, and like people are gonna be like, oh no, he's trying to sell Jesus through his rent-owned company. You know what I mean? Like who's like, how low can you go? That's really not the case. I'm not. If you know, if I feel like this is something that does make us competitive, and I'm in the industry. I'm like the biggest thing I've had to think about is like, you know, how does this play an effect on other people who are connected with me or have been connected in any way? And I think we got some really cool things that we can kind of roll out today so that people understand. So I'm going to let you be the host.
So is this rolling out? Like when is it rolling out?
So it's pretty much live now. There's a couple of pieces of the puzzle we're putting together. So I had to take a look at like, well, what do I want it to mean for me? So part of that is these are just such big conversations. I can't answer them in like 2 sentences. I'm sorry. But like part of that is like, who am I partnering with? So, you know, there's investors. We want to encourage other investors if they're interested in working with us. If you want to have a conversation about private equity and like how you can get return on that, you know, we're open to have a conversation with you.
Sure. If
you're like, hey, I want to invest into this. It's not my wheelhouse.
You just kind of make your checks out to Dillon Street.
I think that's
private investors.
If I understand it right, I think that's the rules. But you know, like I want to get you with the right people so that we're SEC compliant and all that stuff. I don't want to be the guy. Because I'm not the guy. You know, but I try to make sure to partner with, just like I partner with you in marketing. I try to make sure I partner with quality people who know that, you know, the job's going to get done. They can, you know, they're accountable. You know, their faith leads sort of their business. So,
Hi, I'm Dylan from the Shed Geek Marketing team, and I want to address a common misconception about marketing. Often people approach us for just one service, like social media management, where we plan and schedule your monthly posts. While this is a valuable time saver, it's just one piece of your complete marketing strategy, much like a shed with its various components. Let's simplify it. Think of your social media channels and Google My Business as the foundation, similar to the runners of a shed. They support your digital storefront, your website, which is like the floor joists and band boards. To enhance your marketing, you'll need tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, and Google Tags, which are like the walls. These tools help track the success of your campaigns, measuring form submissions, 3D shed creations, and phone calls generated by our ads. Now, let's talk about the roof. Meta and Google ad campaigns. These are the top layers that complete your marketing shed. While you may inquire about one specific service, remember, they all contribute to the overall structure of your marketing strategy. At Shed Geek Marketing, we're happy to work on one individual aspect, but our goal is to build a comprehensive marketing shed that will truly stand out in the digital landscape. If you're ready to talk about your marketing strategy that will take your shed business to the next level, just go to shedgeek.com and fill out a submission form or contact the Shed Geek for more information.
Anyway, yeah, the guys that I'm working with, and if you want to be a partner, you know, we have the sustainability to move forward and grow now. So we've made sure that the money's there. And the way that we've done that is through private equity. Because I think private equity is going to be a way of the future in RTO. Leveraging bank financing, I feel like right now, it's probably very valuable and you can continue to do it. But what concerns me are like conversations that you hear about companies pulling their loans, right?
That's right. It's
you know what I mean? It's happening. You know, we hear it with shed companies. There's one close to us now that I don't want to get sued here. So moving on. But, you know, you just hear those conversations and you're like, gosh, with rising interest rates, longer contracts, you know, yield is less. So, like, how can you control your money? Like, essentially, if you're leveraging bank financing with RTO, you're managing money. So you're a project manager in a sense, right? So it's how well you can manage and then stay within the margins. Whereas if you own your money, it's still sort of the same thought, but you're able to have a little more control with private equity. So we have that. But if you want to have a conversation and want to be part of that, we're happy to take you on. So maybe we're not doing your RTO, but maybe you're investing in the company and you have the ability to make some money even if your sales are down. Because maybe the other side of the country is doing well or whatever it looks like. So, you know, so that's one thing that I wanted to talk to the industry about. If you want to invest, contact me. We'll do all the stuff. We'll get all the lead forms and all that, but you can call me anytime, you know, or message me and we'll talk. But so there's that.
Is there something else?
Well, probably eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I think eventually we'll try to do a consultation leg, but it could be a year out. 2 years out. I mean, who knows?
Well, what would you say is going to be your, like, another rent-own company? Yippee!
I've had to think about that. Trust me.
What is going to be the differentiating factor? Like, what are you going to do differently? Why should someone move over? I mean, these are the questions everybody wants to know.
Well, there's times you reinvent the wheel and there's times you don't reinvent the wheel. You know, I ever tell you the story our pastor told about, like, the ham at Christmas time?
Pastor Tate?
Yeah. Ever tell you about that? He says, you know, we're having a ham at Christmas and the daughter's cutting the ends off both sides of the ham and she's putting it in the crock pot or whatever, or the pan, and she's like, you know, Mom, why did you always do that? I noticed that you, like, used to always cut the ends off the ham. Mom got thinking about it. She's like, you know what? I done that because Mom done that. Let's call her up and let's ask her why. So the daughter and the mom calls up the grandma and they say, hey, we were just sitting here doing this and having this discussion about why we cut the ends off the ham. She did it, you know, now I do it, but we all done it because you did it. And she started laughing and she said, you know, you poor girls, I did it because we didn't have a pan big enough to fit the ham. You know, and what he was saying was, you know, tradition and the way we got here, we should always pay homage to that. But doing things the way they've always been done maybe isn't always the answer. So I feel like whether I'm right or wrong, what I'm attempting to try to do is, like, usher in sort of new thought, new ideas. You know, me and you've seen this marketing thing work really well. So launching, whether it be shed sales ideas, marketing, a podcast. It's like, how do we take on rent-own? And I've really had to think about that. You know, what you said. Marketing, just give me a minute here. Marketing is kind of open. It's a little bit open right now in the industry in terms of, like, thinking about all that Shed Geek Marketing does. All the things that you are skilled at doing to be able to help. So you're not we're not even really like necessarily running into a lot of situations where we're having to take established businesses away from established businesses. A lot of our customers have been new customers who've never done anything.
Sure. A lot of them.
Occasionally you will find somebody who's like, I'm just not happy with where I'm at.
Yeah.
And you have to have a talk. And generally what we've done has been like, hey, try and make it right.
Yeah.
If you can't make it right, then we'll be there. I feel like that's open season.
Sure.
So like there's a ton in my eyes for good marketing to come in and still have exposure in this industry.
Yeah.
Rent-own's way different. You know, rent-own's pretty much, most people are using somebody.
Yeah.
And then there's like all these nuances. There's a million conversations and rabbit holes we can probably go down.
Oh,
with
yeah.
that. But the question is like, so how are we, this is one of the areas where I can't say a rising tide lifts all boats, or I can, but like we understand that like making the market share bigger in this situation is not necessarily super available. There's going to be a large portion of you taking market share if you become successful in this endeavor.
Absolutely.
So like you really got to think about that and think it through thoroughly and be like, oh no, what do I want that to look like? So like I want the person to know who they're working with first and foremost. Like a lot of these guys talk to me and they're like, man, we haven't even talked to like who does our RTO in like a year.
Yeah.
And I'm not dissing the people who do things that way. I'm just saying that's not me. Like I'm not going to be that guy. I don't want to like get to the point to where success.
You're just a relationship guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
but you're right, because I was just thinking about the conversation we had with a client the other day about how there's things that are pretty standard in the RTO world now that they never did know existed.
well, it's competitive. I'll call it what it is. You know, rip the Band-Aid off and say it's super competitive. 10 years ago, you could probably go around, sign people up, whatever. Now you have to compete.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you want to compete with morals. You know, there's all these talks about collaboration and different things. And I'm like, oh, that's great. But the competition's still very valuable too. So like one of the things we want to do is, you know, dealer premium comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Whenever I think about dealer premium, it's really interesting to be in conversations with people who.
How many manufacturer dealers have never heard of a dealer premium?
Last time we talked dealer premiums, I had a phone call that said, hey, you're going to have a strange package show up on your doorstep by the end of the week.
Yeah.
Don't open it. So like, I understand that it's controversial just to educate people.
Oh, snap. That was a threat.
Yeah. No. They weren't saying it. No.
I thought you said like an RTO company's about to send anthrax to your door. I'm like, whoa.
I wonder if my anthrax booster from the military is still good.
Oh, gosh.
I have to ask them. No, they didn't call and do it that way. They were joking, saying some of these guys might not like it that you talk about these things. And I'm like, well, that's fine. But, you know, Socrates was stoned to death because he educated the public, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, to me, like education's a good thing. Helps you make more decisions. If your business is based on keeping people in the dark, they're going to find out eventually. And the question is, what's their attitude towards that? So for me, I'm just like, whenever I talk about it, I have people all the time be like, "What's a dealer premium?" And I'm like, "Oh,
well,
I'm not trying to be
what is a dealer
like,
premium then?"
Generally speaking, you know, rent own is so competitive that a lot of times, you know, they'll pay you extra if you're the manufacturer. Per contract.
Okay, I'm Shed Geek Sheds.
Okay.
You're RTO.
Okay.
I want my premium, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
What?
Well, you see a mixture. You know, you see some that are performance based. You see some that are just, you know, open. Hey, I'll give you 2%, 5%.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard numbers go up to 6, 7, 8%. You know,
Sheesh.
I mean, yeah.
8%.
So when you think about the amount of like yield that you're receiving,
Sure.
and then you're giving so much of that back.
Yeah.
Rent-own can be a lucrative business, but that's why it's not necessarily my primary job. Like we also have the podcast, we also have marketing, we also have rent-own. We might eventually have consultation. There's like, who knows?
Sure.
I can't, you know, you can't do it all, but I'm not really, I mean, you're the life of Shed Geek Marketing. Much of what you do, I mean, you're the account manager on all the accounts. So like we'll connect with them, but you're doing a lot of the work. So for me, it's about getting out of the way and let you do a good job.
Yeah,
it's not about trying to like go in and be like,
I just help project manage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, however it works.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's the same way with rent own. Like
Sure.
it's very easy to kind of let people do what they're good at.
Yeah.
You know, and definitely maintain the relationship and make it clear on what the expectations are. I would say that RTO has such a big position in this industry. because if you took it away, who knows how many shed sales would go away? 50%, 40%, 30%.
Yeah.
You know, you go up north, people say, well, it's only like 10%, 20% of my sales. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
but you go down
Down
south.
south, it's like,
That's
it's like 70, 80% of our sales
That's
are
right.
going out. So it can be very important. And that's probably not a perfect demonstration. There's salt and peppered
Absolutely.
examples in
Communities.
there.
Sure.
But generally speaking, it becomes a huge part of it. So like, and then that's very protective. And so the guys who are doing it want to be very protective. Maybe want to get you to sign a no compete.
Sure.
You know, maybe want to guarantee you work with them for a long time. Maybe they put inventory out there for you, so they sort of have some ownership. Maybe they actually have literal ownership in your company. I mean, RTO companies are buying companies now to guarantee that they can get
Buying
the contracts.
buying their inventory.
Yeah,
All kinds of stuff.
So it's very complicated. It's like, do you want to jump into the world of that?
Sure.
And I'm like, man, I've been in the world of that. I've been an RTO rep for a long time. And while I don't have everything completely figured out, it starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we obviously seek similar legal counsel just like everybody else. So like all the parts of the puzzle are there. Hey guys, thanks for listening to part 1 of a 2-parter for Shed Geek Rentals. Went out on a limb to do this episode, and we got a little bit long-winded. So hope you don't mind. Tune in tomorrow for the remaining of this episode. Thank you so much.